This year, healing has a sound, transformation has a story, and your breakthrough has a seat waiting for you. On Saturday, February 28, 2026, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., join us at Ujima Socials in Dallas, Texas, for the powerful Keeping It All Together, Becoming Who God Called Me to Be Women's Conference. A movement birthed from the memoir that's already changing lives. Keeping It All Together, Healing and Becoming Who God Called Me to Be. The story, the testimony, the ministry, and now, the conference. Experience 4 dynamic speakers who will pour, teach, and pull you into your next level. Be inspired by our keynote speaker, minister and author, Stephanie M. Seaton, as she delivers a message straight from the throne room. This is your moment to breathe again, to release what's been weighing you down, to rediscover the woman God designed before the world tried to break her. 2026 is your year, and Stephanie's personal motto declares it boldly: no more holding back. So don't hold back your healing. Don't hold back your growth. Don't hold back your transformation. Reserve your seat today. Step into the room where healing happens, sisterhood thrives, and destiny calls you by name. The Keeping It All Together Conference. Because when God puts you back together, you don't just survive, you rise.
Me in this microphone. Well, hello, and welcome to the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. I'm so glad that you're tuning in with us tonight. Tonight, we have got a friend of the show back tonight, Miss Shamika Nicole. Welcome back into the house. How are you?
I am doing well. How about you?
I'm doing good, and I'm so excited that you're here. We are here to talk about another collaboration. Let me say that word again, collaboration. Okay. This is a season for collaboration. When the Lord gives you a vision to do something, share it. And I'm so grateful that this young lady here, she's just came out with a lot of amazing projects. And I've had the privilege of being able to be included in 2 of those projects. The first one was my salvation story. And listen, that right there, that's everything. It ended up being 2 whole volumes. And now we are collaborating on this amazing project, Letters to My Sisters. And it's just breathtaking. And I say that because when you first talked to me about the project, I was just like, there's so many things to say, and the subtitle is I lived through it so you don't have to. My God.
Yes.
Yeah. And so when I saw this promotion, I reached out to you. I was like, I need to be in this. I got to be a part of this. And my thing was, what do I say? What don't I say? Because it's a whole book. And just the fact that we were able to come together, so many different women from different walks, and tell our stories. How did this come about? What kind of moment were you having when you thought about this, Letters to My Sisters? Tell us.
So this actually came during the time that we were doing the My Salvation Story collaboration.
Okay.
So it's like the Lord gave me this book to birth. Basically wanting to help women to avoid the mistakes that we have made, to share parts of our story. So that's why it was titled Letters to My Sisters, because we want to show them that you don't have to go this same route. And if you do, there's hope. You don't have to walk through the shame. Like on the other side, there's a whole different life, that you can live. So just wanted to be a beacon of hope for our sisters, to be a voice, because I know that sometimes some of our sisters, they are afraid to share the story because of all that has happened. But when they get to see the inside of, our story, I believe that encourages them to actually go forth with speaking about theirs as well. Because, when we start speaking it, that's when healing starts coming. Sometimes we hold it in but it's always good to let it out, regardless of what you have endured. So this
Yeah.
project was truly a blessing for me, and it made me see my story in a different lens. So I'm truly grateful for each of y'all who joined the project. The stories
Yeah.
were powerful, very encouraging, and I'm just praying that whoever hands these books landed, they will be encouraged as well.
Yes. 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 I just want to kind of read off the titles, even the titles of the chapters. So there's a dedication, there's introduction. The first chapter is sing, sing. I mean, you've got to read the book, okay? Number two, I forgive me. Chapter two is I forgive me. And that is actually the chapter that I wrote. I forgive me. And then in the wrong arms.
Yeah.
Jesus still chose me in spite of me, and then still chosen. You also included in here some scriptures to meditate on, declarations to speak over ourselves. This is just a very powerful collection. So it's not just like big sis to little sis, but it's also personal. It even could be like a journaling guide,
Yeah.
like a journaling guide, because you can listen to the chapter, you can take from it your experience, and kind of just go through. And then we had reflection questions, right? And so we have the questions in the book that you can journal down your answers. And what I found with journaling, and you tell me for you, Shamika, is when you journal and you write down something, you can go back to it like months later and you'll be in a whole different headspace. And
Yes.
what did I feel in that moment? And you really kind of be shocked at what you were sharing, with your journal. What do you think?
Yes, that's been the same for me, but it's always good to see the growth. I may have been in a different season at that time, but where I am now is not where I used to be. It for me, I like to go back to just see that, to just see the growth and how I'm growing internally, as far as the healing portion. But
Yeah,
yes, journaling is it. It's
yeah,
it's way more beneficial than we like to give it you
credit
know
for
yeah,
yeah,
credit for it. Yeah, thank you. I couldn't get the
yeah.
word out.
No, you good, you good. So let me kind of read. This is what we shared in the book, and this book is for every sister who has questioned her worth, felt unseen, or stayed silent too long. I got to read that again.
Yes.
This book is for every sister who's questioned her worth. How many of us have done that at different points in our lives? Um, Felt unseen or stayed silent for too long. For the one who survived, just existing in survival, not living, but just existing, and then kept going and is still healing. You are seen, you are loved, you are not alone. I love it. I love it. I love it. Um, Once you got started on the project, Shamika, and the different ladies that joined the project as you were reading our chapters, how did you feel inside knowing that this project definitely was like God ordained, and just seeing how the different ladies that worked with you on this project, how we poured our hearts into it? How did you feel just knowing I heard clearly? Like, how did you feel?
It was overwhelming at first, but anytime the Lord gives me something, I do question it,
Yeah,
because I want to be led by Him.
yeah,
But after reading all of our stories, seeing the commonalities, I was like, okay, okay, Lord, okay.
yeah,
So I know this was you. And it's just so amazing how we have walked through some of the same things,
yeah,
some of the exact same things,
yeah,
but we came out. But I just found that so interesting that we had those commonalities, the
yeah,
relationship issues, the dysfunction, the abusive relationships. It was just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
wow. But I'm so glad that God, I believe God handpicked each of you for the
Mm,
project,
yeah,
because I don't think that you know I do get people who inquire about it, but if they don't go forth, I don't, get upset or anything, because I've learned that God will send the people who will align with the vision. And
that's right.
so that's exactly what you all did. Y'all align with the vision. And of course, we got this beautiful book that's a
Yeah,
blessing to, to others. So I'm just grateful to be in that headspace to know that, God, this was something that you did ordain me to walk out or to birth.
I want to show the full book cover just so everyone can see it. Look at this here. I mean, the picture in itself, you did an amazing job just even displaying the front, the dear sister letter. I mean, letters to my sisters I lived through so you don't have to. Letters to my sisters, a faith-filled collection written for women who have felt unseen, unheard, unsure. I mean, it's beautiful. It says that I love the brown, of course. But I just think you did such a good job at putting it together. And the way that you presented it, I think made it easy for me personally to be able to be open and to be vulnerable. Um, I've kind of feel like we're constantly growing in our writing, but the projects that I've been a part of with you challenge me to be open. I'm not creating a character. It's real. It's real, and it's really good. It feels good to be a part of projects that challenge you to to say, you know what, I'm gonna risk it all. I'm gonna put it out there, because we can play safe as writers and just say what we think people want to hear, or we can, but the way that you presented this and said so that others, the part that got me, Shamika, is we live through it so they don't have to. My particular chapter, I spoke a lot about fake friendships.
Yeah.
I spoke about fake friendships, fake love, desperation. And those are things that we as women don't want to talk about out loud. But truth is, when you go through trauma and you go through things in life that put you in those spaces, it's real whether you talk about it or not, right?
Yeah. Yep.
How many of the authors in the book had those same things in common?
So I think it was I think Servant Latondra, she actually went through that too. I think that was part of hers. But the other commonalities between amongst the rest of us was like the relationship issues and
Mm.
yeah, the relationship issues mostly, being rejected and dealing with abuse, those
Yeah,
things. Yeah.
yeah. Why do you think a lot of times women don't want to tell other women when they're going through things like that? Do like, and that wasn't the case in this book because we all openly talked about our stories, but why do you think it is when women are going through things that we don't just open up and just tell other women? Or are we afraid of judgment? Or
Yeah.
what do you
Very
think?
much so. Yes, you took it off the yeah, you spoke the words exactly. Yeah, we fear judgment because we don't want people to see that our lives are not what we may be portraying them to be. And I've been there before, being
Yeah,
afraid to reach out to people, but I
yeah,
had to learn that if I really wanted help, I
yeah,
had to open up my mouth. I
yeah,
couldn't keep concealing, what was happening because if we really want help, we're going to ask for it. We're
yeah,
not an island. That's why I'm so grateful for the people that I have in my life to this day. The ones who they'll openly rebuke me. I
yeah,
want friends like that. I want them to be able to tell me the truth and, to really help me along my journey.
yeah,
But sometimes you have women that are so afraid of being judged. Like, how is this person going to think of me? What if I tell them this? How they're going to portray me? But we have to get out of that because deliverance is not staying in that place. You're gonna
mm,
still stay stuck in that bondage.
yeah,
So yeah, it's a fear of judgment for most, I know for sure.
yeah. You said something so good right there. Deliverance is not staying stuck, not talking about it. If you want to stay stuck, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Because if you want to get delivered, part of it is speaking it, facing it, surrendering to the Lord. And you can't surrender and get delivered from something you won't acknowledge.
Yep.
That's just like a person who's an alcoholic or whatever, you may have going on. We seem to think that things like that are are bigger, but there's so many people suffering from depression, bad relationships, just so many things. And we think, oh, well, I don't really have a problem. And let me tell you this, and I just thought of this just now as we were talking. Hello, Miss Diana. I didn't even know I was in an abusive relationship
Mm.
until afterwards, if that makes sense. Because so many times we think that things are just normal because it's what we've been conditioned to. We saw it growing up. We saw this is how husbands and wives interact. And this is just what my family does. And this, and so you don't really even think about it. I remember somebody was asking about this was a couple of years ago. People were talking about doing domestic violence, which is in October, right? And I was trying to help them think of people. Then I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I survived domestic violence, you know? And they were like, well, what have you been through? And then I started talking, and they were like, we didn't, I didn't know that. And I said, I'm sitting here trying to help you figure this out. And I said, I just realized that I'm a survivor of domestic violence myself, mental, emotional, physical, sexual, on every level you can possibly think of. But we don't a lot of times see ourselves
Mm-mm.
and see the stuff that we actually survived. So that is another reason why I thought this project was so amazing, is because you gave us the opportunity to not just keep it for ourselves, but even tell other women, even the warning signs. There's some warning signs, there's some red lights, like this is what happened, this is how it progressed, you know. And I keep kind of going back a little bit of the nugget. One of the things that I shared in my chapter, I Forgive Me, is wanting so badly to be accepted. Thinking that you have genuine friendships and people, you confide in them, you tell them intimate details about you or about your life, thinking that they're rooting for you, and they're not. They are not rooting for you. They can't stand your spirit, and they really ultimately are envious or jealous. And so we find ourselves having to try to figure out, how do I be a sister? How do I have women friends? How do I open myself up to be vulnerable, Shamika, to
Yeah.
other women, if this is how they present themselves, or if this is how I feel in the circle? Have you ever experienced that?
Yes, I have, because there was a season where I got hurt really badly, and I think when I moved back to Mississippi, that was like a realization that I was still
Yeah,
dealing with it. I didn't want to get close to women. I was just hurt,
yeah,
and it took some time to really get over it. I'm not gonna lie, it took some time, because
yeah,
like, the people that I started connecting with, I just wanted to make sure that they were genuine and that they didn't
yeah,
have
yeah,
any ulterior motives, and
yeah.
they were really, had a pure heart. And I found that, so I'm just truly grateful. Even going through what I did with the previous that
Mhm.
relationship, it did open my eyes to a lot.
Yeah,
Sometimes the people who are inflicting, the pain, they're not healed themselves. Like,
there you
so
go. There
they
you go.
continue the cycle, and it affects those that they're connected to. So I had to learn that, I had to truly learn how to forgive and not hold that, against the people that God wants to bring into my life. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely walked through that.
You said something very powerful just then. And this is, we're talking about letters to my sisters, but for men and women that may be watching, once we realize that most of the people that have hurt us, male or female, they are broken and hurting people themselves. That is one of the big ways that the Lord showed me how to forgive people that have hurt me in the past, Shamika, was when he let me see them through his eyes, meaning I saw them in their childhood, I saw them in their stuff. And then, not that I wanted to necessarily forgive them, let's be real.
Hmm. Yeah.
But that is how the Lord helped me to be able to be open to seeing them, that what, they're struggling, they're trying to get to the other side just like me,
Yeah.
and projects like this, anthology projects where we get together with a common topic and allow people to just pour, I think is so needed. It's so
Yeah.
needed. And I think that, the topics that you come up with, I'm telling you, my salvation story, how many total testimonies did you have in that book, in those two books? Because both books are like this, how many total testimonies did you have in those books?
It was 30, so 15 in each.
It just seems so much, it seemed like so many more.
Yeah.
But I guess because we all told the whole stories, because listen. But
Yeah.
anthology projects like this, I love them because it gives you the opportunity to just hear other perspectives. And I think on any type of subject that has to do with healing, empowerment, transformation, changing lives, ministry, I think we always need to hear different perspectives, because we all have different walks. We may be trying to reach the common goal, but we all have different stories and different versions, right? And your story may reach this group of women over here, but when you put it all in one book, all these different testimonies and versions, we're able together collectively, to be able to reach more people. And so I love it. I love it. I love it. Tell me, for the people that are watching tonight, why should they buy this book, Letters to My Sisters?
They should buy this book because not only are we presenting to them like the experiences that we have walked through, but we want them to avoid some of those same things, those pitfalls. We don't want you to go through those same cycles. We're just here to be a voice and to show you those signs so that you don't have to walk through it. And it's my prayer that, any person who orders the book and actually read it, they're blessed. Like their eyes are open. Like you were saying earlier, you didn't know that you were in a domestic violence situation. And sometimes that's the case for other women, but I just pray that their eyes will be open as they read our stories. And not only will they be open, but they'll have hope, even if they're going through it right then, they'll have hope that they can get out and, get to their other side.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. What about we as women, when we feel like we're not seen or we're not heard, or then some of us we're being seen and we're being heard, but it may be too much for the next sister or brother, and so we shrink. We shrink.
Yeah.
We shrink into rooms to fit in. We shrink really who the Lord called us to be, because we don't want to cause too much attention to ourselves. What about that? Have you seen that a lot? Was that something that the women in the book dealt with when you were thinking of this topic? Was that maybe a topic of conversation?
Well, I'm gonna just say this. My chapter title is actually Sin. And I talk about, what I went through in my previous domestic violence situation. And there were times that I did want to pull back from sharing my full story, but I was like, this is not going to help the next person if I don't, share the truth, even if it may be, something that just horrible. I want them to see that this is what I walked through. But not only did I walk through it, but I'm here today. I'm a survivor of it. I'm not a victim, I'm a survivor.
Yeah.
And I think that when we do shrink, even when we're in places and we're led to speak something and we don't speak it, I believe that hinders the next person from their breakthrough or their deliverance. So I just want people to know, if you have your story, tell it. Don't try to cut nothing out. Don't try to sugarcoat nothing. Because you don't know who needs the raw truth, So make sure you're open, you're honest, and you just share what actually happened. Because I really, I'm not for the shrinking back. Even when I shared my first story, like my first book that I published, I talked about going through when my son's father was unfaithful. And from that book, I had so many married women who were walking through the same things. I was 25 at the time, and I'm talking to women twice my age, and but they were telling me that my story was a blessing to them in so many words. They were trying to get advice from me because that was a journey for me. That was
Yeah.
a very vulnerable moment, for me to share that. But I'm glad that I didn't hold back, because if I did, what about those women who reached out?
Mm,
Would they have received the guidance that they needed? Was that were the wisdom they needed, and to go forth, and whatever direction they were going, that would have been withheld from them, or they
yeah.
could have got it from somebody else. But I just know that by me putting that information in there, it was a beacon of hope, for them. If I was walking through it, and I was transitioning to the other side, because I was still dealing with it. But I think that they just needed that hope that they would get through it, or they just needed that guidance to, like, do I need to stay, all that. But I'm thankful that I was in that position to share that part of my story to them, so I'm just grateful for those moments.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, when I think of the title Letters to My Sisters, and we reflect on our life and all the things we've been through, the domestic violence, the shrinking, the all the stuff, pettiness from other women, because maybe your hair was long, your hair was short, you were light skinned, you were dark skinned, you think you this, you think you that. We have just done so many things that were not good, you know. And the reality of it is we can do so much good things and just create such a better atmosphere by sharing those stories, being open and being vulnerable and just seeing each other for who we are. I was pulling up this part here. Um, God sees you, not only the version of you that learned how to smile through pain, but the real you, the one who has carried wounds quietly and questioned deeply.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Um, that right there, we so many times we do go through things and we're smiling through it because we've been taught. That's what we
Yes.
do. You
Mm-hmm.
just, as women, we have to wear so many different hats.
Yeah.
We're mom, we're sister, we're author, we're publisher, we're all these things, and at the end of the day is when we get to be just us. And most of the time when we get to be just ourselves, we're just worn out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that is where most of us that go through forgetting our own identity, I think that's
Oh,
where it happens, because we're so busy being everything to everybody that we lose sight on who we are. I was telling the story Saturday, Shamika. I was at a visionary event. It was a what do you call it? When you're doing the ooh, I can't think. What is it called? I was making a vision board. I was making a
okay.
so I was making a vision board. I was at a vision board party on Saturday, and I was making a vision board, and we were sitting there making the vision boards and everything, and we were talking about how you can forget things, and so we were intentionally making our vision boards about ourselves. We didn't put husbands, we didn't put boyfriends, we didn't put kids, we didn't. The people at my table, we specifically put ourselves and the vision for ourselves on the board. You know, we had to intentionally do that. So often we would have had that thing filled up with husbands, kids, boyfriends, and everybody else's, thought.
Mm-hmm.
My son wants to do this, and my daughter wants to do. But our vision boards were specifically about us, right? I can remember a time where I set my password on an app, Shamika, to my favorite color. And I sat there and I put it in what I thought my favorite color was pink. And I sat there and pink was not my favorite color. So I was like, okay, well, maybe purple. I went through 4 or 5 different colors and then got frustrated and began to cry. Literally, I began to cry because what I realized is I have set my password to my favorite color. And me and my 50-year-old self don't even know what my favorite color is.
Wow.
I lost myself. I sat there literally going purple, pink, white, blue, green, just making up some stuff, And I finally had to reset my passwords because I couldn't remember. And it got me emotional because of the fact, like, how do I not know what my favorite color is? Now, if you ask me what is my son's favorite color, I can tell you his favorite color are blue and green. But how often do we lose ourselves? How many sisters can honestly say, "Hey sis, hey, pray for me. Keep me in mind. Help me be intentional about myself." Because listen, I'm over here. I don't even know what food I like. I don't know what my favorite color is. I don't know any of that. And those are some lighter subjects. And the book deals with some bigger subjects, but it still has the same tone to it, that we have to be in tune with ourselves. We have to be in tune with other sisters that are in our circle, checking on each other, seeing if you're okay, what you got going on, like, giving you heads up that, hey, if you stay in that abusive marriage, this is what's going to happen, right? If you keep shrinking in rooms, this is what's going to happen. And so those are all just different examples. I'm just throwing some different examples out there, but it still goes back to what? Letters to my sisters is necessary.
Yeah.
It's necessary. To the women that are watching tonight, what do you think from your chapter in your reflection? What was the one key thing that you wanted them to know about being seen?
Sometimes we feel like even with what we go through, that nobody's paying attention.
Yeah.
But through my chapter, I could see God's omnipresence in my life, from even the abusive situation to where I am now, because that's what I kind of compared the walk with my ex-husband, and now how the Lord shifted everything. He restored me, he delivered me, and now I'm with my new husband, who is just the total opposite of what I walked through, what I experienced. God sees us. Not only does he see us, but he has our best interest at heart. He wants to see us healed. He doesn't want us, in those abusive situations.
No.
And I could just sit back and just see like the handprint of God throughout, even that situation, where how he got me out of the marriage and how I'm here now. I just want them to know that God sees you. It doesn't matter where you are. He sees you. You just got to continue to trust his plan, but he sees you.
That's the biggest thing, that trust factor.
Yeah.
The trust factor is such a big deal because so many of us have been taught not to trust. We have had reasons not to trust. And then we have the Lord telling us, trust me. And it's like, Lord, how do we trust you? And we're looking at our natural sisters, our natural brothers, mothers, and fathers, our natural cousins, our natural people, period, that we don't trust, that have, whatever has happened. Yeah. And here you are, Lord, saying to us, trust you. It's big, right? Mm-hmm. But the reality of it is he's not like our natural family. He's not like our natural friends, because he really is going to honor what he said. We just have to take that chance. And I say that chance looks like surrender. For some people, surrender means falling out flat on the floor. That was my surrender. For some people, it's just throwing up your hands. For some people, it's letting out a big scream, a big cry, running through the room. I mean, whatever your surrender is, but it's doing that surrender and saying, you know what, Lord, you can drive this car better than me. You can navigate my life better than me. What I'm doing for myself is not working. Because we tend to choose the wrong relationships, the wrong friendships, and then we get mad at God, don't we, Shamika?
Mm-hmm, we do.
And the reality of the situation is the Lord didn't choose those spouses. He didn't choose those friends. Most of the time, he gave you warning signs through the Holy Spirit. You just ignored them. But when we allow the Lord to be our guide and navigate us through life, things become much easier. We just got to get to that point that we trust the fall, that he's going to catch us, right? I've read a quote from the chapter that you wrote. I'm going to read just a little bit from the chapter that I wrote here, and this is I Forgive Me. And I'm not going to read much because you got to buy the book. But I said, I walked into womanhood without a map, no compass, no guide, just a heart full of longing and a spirit searching for love, identity, and purpose. I didn't have any older women speaking into my life. Nobody to say, baby girl, don't go that way, or here's what I learned when I failed. Here's what I learned when I failed. And when we don't have that roadmap in anything, you got to take guesses, you got to create something, and you're not going to always get it right. And that was the case for me. I did not have a ... I had not seen it, and had to figure it out. And now I find myself, Shamika, looking for opportunities to pour into other women. And your project gave me that, but I look for opportunities to pour into women and to be able to say, listen, in all transparency, I missed the mark. I did this, and Lord told me to go left. I went right. And this is why he didn't want me to go left.
Yeah.
Right. And this book, this project, the vulnerability that all the ladies put into here is just amazing. It's amazing. What else should we say about this project? Letters to My Sisters. It's available in ebook and paperback.
And hardcover as well.
In hardcover. Where can they find the project?
On Amazon.
Okay, it's on Amazon. Reflection questions. I like the fact that you put the questions in there because, again, that's the part that makes you want to do a journal. One reflection question. What season of life do you relate to most in your story? And in here I said in my story, but for each of you that are watching tonight, what season of your life do you relate to most? What was the best version of yourself? And if you're not in the best version of yourself, go back and backtrack how you got off track, right? And kind of pick back up and figure out, where did things go left? Was it when I did this, when I did that? And then I like the fact that you gave us a challenge to do action steps, to do prayers. We also included prayers in the book. So we give you our chapter, we give you reflection questions, we give you a prayer, and we give you steps on what's next. That is all included in each of the chapters, and the scriptural text. Definitely scriptural text for you to meditate on the scripture, and really let it be in your heart. Let it be in your heart. Chapter 3, in the wrong arms, sleeping with the enemy. My God.
Yeah.
Bad company corrupts good character. Don't be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. That scripture is 1 Corinthians 15:33. Listen.
I know, right?
Now that's one of those commonality chapters. We have all been in the arms of the wrong person. I will say this, and it's not a pass that I'm giving us, okay? But I think a lot of times, and I'm going to say culturally, I think a lot of times we as Black people, we are not taught how to love properly.
Yeah.
We're taught generational trauma. We're taught generational dysfunction. We have grandparents married 50, 60 years, but they argue, they fight every day. And, somewhere in the lineage, we're taught that it's okay to stay just to be married, just to say you're married. And that's kind of how a lot of people, I believe, get caught up in domestic violence situations, is because you're taught to just stay. You're not taught about, how we're supposed to actually be treated. We're definitely not encouraged in the word on what the Lord says about us, because there'd be no way that we can accept abuse. But so often we are looking for love because of the trauma, the drama, the dysfunction. And then we look for the first person that comes along that shows us what we think we need, right? And most of the time, there's this thing called a representative, right?
Come on.
Most of the time, there's this thing called the representative. So it's not even the real person showing up, it's a representative. And if we want to really break it down, let me break it on down into spiritual terms. The enemy is sending people into your life because he knows what you're looking for. He knows that it will be a distraction that will derail you from the plan that the Lord has for your life. He knows what you like. You know, if you like tall, dark, and handsome, he's going to bring tall, dark, and handsome. If you like short and stacked and curvy, or whatever your preference is, men and women, the Lord, the enemy will send that distraction into your life. Then you will find yourself in a situation ship. That's the new word, right? Situation ship.
Yep.
You will find yourself in a situation ship in further distance from what the Lord has called you to do.
Yeah.
And how real is that and relevant is that in today's society now, Shamika?
It's very real and relevant.
Yeah. And I'm sure you probably, not just in this project, I'm sure even in the book of the salvation stories, you probably had a lot of that going on.
Oh yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. Our heart is one of the main targets of the enemy, because if the enemy can get into your heart to turn your heart to the things that are opposite of the Lord, then he feels like he can keep you away from the Lord.
Yeah.
Right. And so often that is what the bait is. In this chapter here, that's what she says. She says it was just bait. I call it lots of distractions. I say that word a lot, distractions.
Yeah.
And I'm always saying, Lord, help me not to have any distractions or be distracted, because, you know, just because somebody gets into your messenger, your phone, your however they reaching out to you, contacting you, doesn't mean they always have good intentions.
Right.
And we have to test people. We have to really, you know, when we are people of God trying to live this life, we have to really be careful to stay, you know, fixed on the things of God, and test people and see what are your intentions. You can even ask them, what are your intentions? Why are you here?
Who sent you? Who sent
you? Listen, you took it out of my mouth. Yeah, who sent you? And I at one point I was saying that so much, Shamika, it was crazy. And I still say it, don't get me wrong, but literally I would look at everybody and be like, who sent you? And I'm looking at your fruit to see who sent you. You know, and it would become so relevant because listen, last year, honey, last year the enemy was busy sending them.
Wow.
He was busy sending them. And I'm not just talking about men, I'm talking about men and women. Fake friends, fake this, fake that. But I thank God for the gift of discernment. And so what I'm saying, in this season, we need to be so up on discerning. We need to be so up on discerning all relationships, all connections. We need to get us some circles of good friends.
Yeah.
We need more women in our lives, you know, for us, for what we're talking about tonight, letters to my sisters. We need more women in our circles that have good hearts and good intentions, that have the love of Christ, that want to be in collaboration and not competition. I say that so much. We need more women that understand that we're better together.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful that you, I believe, genuinely have that heart, because you have opened up your project so many times. You could have just said, this is just going to be my book, my letters to my sisters. But you opened that project up, and even my salvation story, you know, you gave so many people an opportunity to put their testimonies out there. And you just don't know how many people's lives are going to be changed by these projects. And so for that, I want to tell you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I went through the chapters specifically that you and I wrote. The other ladies did an amazing job as well. All of the chapters, you know, I mean, it doesn't matter which chapter you read, you're going to get a blessing and a message out of it. Like I said, they all have scriptural text. Jesus still chose me in spite of me. How many times do we miss the mark? But because of his grace and his mercy, you know, the last book that we did, my chapter was Chosen in Chaos. And the point of that was I didn't just go and just get perfect. And then the Lord said, okay, now you're ready. No, He chose me in the midst of my stuff.
Yeah.
He chased me down. His love chased me down and arrested my spirit, even in the midst of my plans and my whatever that I thought I had going on. He was still that, just that soft,
Yeah.
sweet voice. His presence just, I mean, just overshadowed all my stuff, right? Till you just get to the point that you have to just throw your hands up and say, you are still loving me.
Yes.
You are still here for me, even though I have done all this. I have rejected you, and
Jesus.
you are still speaking so nicely and calmly to me. I think sometimes, Shamika, people don't really understand the full concept and relationship of who Jesus is and His Holy Spirit. Because the way that He loves us, how, I mean, I don't understand how people can deny Him
Right.
when He loves you in spite of, and you know, I'm about to get off on another subject, but you get where I'm going. But
Yes.
this project, again, Letters to My Sisters, is amazing. The reflection questions, again, don't forget, get you a journal. Get you a journal, write down the questions, write down your answers, and don't lie to yourself. Don't sit there with that pen and paper and just make up answers that sound good. Nobody's looking at your journal. This is between you and the Lord. So give real answers. Give real answers that are going to help you. God is healing my heart layer by layer. Every wound is being tended to by His loving hands. That is in chapter 4. Oh, that is amazing. Every layer is being healed. Uh, Shamika, do we heal instantly or is it a process?
It's a process.
It is a process. Can you say it loud for the people in the back? It is a
Healing is a process.
it is
Yes.
a process, but it starts with acknowledging and surrender. And then chapter 5, still chosen. When your past tries to define you, and we are not our past. Let me say that again. We are not our past. That is just a part of the journey. You are not your past. You are who the Lord says that you are. Um, Letters to My Sisters. You got to get a copy. I want to show you the book cover again. I love the book cover. It is amazing. As she said, you can get it on Amazon. Um, can you call up all the names of all of the authors as I point to them?
Hmm. I can't see, but I'm gonna
Oh,
start
you
from left
can't
to
see.
right.
I'm sorry.
You good?
Well, hold on. Let me take it off. Okay, just name off the authors that are in the project. I thought you could see. I'm so sorry.
And I can see. I just can't see your pointer, your mouse. But it's Miss Servant Latasha Grace,
Yes,
Stephanie Doty, Latasha Peacock, Stephanie M. Seaton, and me, Shamika Nicole.
yes, yes, yes. Now, before we get ready to come to a close,
Mhm.
when we had our conversation that night and we did our live, there was a word, and I want to talk about that word. And I did a podcast about that word,
Oh
and
yes.
that word I believe is the season for a lot of people. But I really want to bring it up tonight because it was very, it was just ordained that night when we were talking and the women were sharing the stories. And I did a testimonial on my podcast the following night because it was so powerful that night. That word was reset.
Hmm.
And we were talking, and I remember I was just like, I don't know if I should say it. I don't know if I should say it. And as I told you, I said, well, I asked you, I said, do you mind if I say something? And you said, go ahead. And I gave you the word. Then you, and what was the other young lady's name that had the same book?
Latasha.
You and Latasha literally both put up the same book.
Hmm. Yep.
And it was called, was it Prophetic Reset?
Hmm.
I was just like, whoa.
Yes.
Yeah. And I said that to say this tonight, regardless of what you're going through, whether you are a man, whether you are a woman, regardless of what you are going through. This book right here and so many other books speak to your heart and give you a roadmap. They give you a manual. They give you the outline of, you know what, you don't have to suffer in this alone. There's other people that have been through it. Because a lot of times what the enemy does, he makes us feel like we are the only one. He makes you feel like you're insignificant. Nobody wants to know your story. But that is how important books like this are, is letting it be known that, you know what, I'm not the only one that has survived this or been through that. And reset, that word reset, the thing that I think we all that and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I think that night that really flooded all of our spirit was when you have a reset button, you can push it anytime. There's no program time that you have to set it this day, this way. You can constantly keep pushing that reset button. And the Lord in the word, he says, be you therefore transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? Well, be ye therefore transformed by the renewing of your mind, Romans 12, is the same thing as pressing reset. When he told you to be ye therefore transformed, reset, 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 reset. So no matter what you are going through, don't give up.
Yeah.
Find you a circle. Find you a crew. Even if it's one person, find you a prayer partner. But do not give up. Keep pushing. Give us your final thoughts, Shamika, as we get ready to come to a close. Give us your final thoughts.
Well, my final thoughts is that, like you were saying, we do need a circle of people in our life. Like I said, we're not meant to be an island. We're not meant to travel or journey through this life alone. We do need our sisters. We do need our brothers. So I very and highly encourage that, because God has placed people, I will place people in our life to help us to grow, not only in who we're called to be, but to also help us grow closer to him. So find you a village, find you, be vulnerable. Don't be ashamed of what you're going through. If you really need help, just pray and ask the Lord to send the right people into your life. And I truly believe that he will do that. But don't try to take everything on by yourself. God called us to have relationships, like be in relationships with other people, so we don't have to journey alone. So that's my final take.
I love it. I love it. I love it. As we come to a close tonight, make sure that you like, tag, and share this episode. I usually say that in the beginning, but please make sure that you like, tag, and share this episode. If you have heard something tonight and you know that somebody is going through something and they need a word like this, to just let them know that, hey, be encouraged. You're not the only one going through it. Letters to my sisters exist. For the men that are out there, I just recently released a men's anthology project with a group of men, Shamika. And listen, the stories behind the strong faces, men hurt too. All of it across the board. What we're doing is we're writing these books, we're telling our stories, our testimonies, but what we're doing is we're ministering the gospel. We're letting you know that it is not the end. Turn the page, it's a new chapter. Press the reset button and keep going. Press the reset button. So, Shamika, thank you so much for being here tonight to talk about Letters to My Sisters, available now on Amazon in all three formats: ebook, paperback, and hardcover. Make sure that if you are interested in getting a copy, that you reach out to Shamika or to myself or to one of the other authors that are in the book if you want an autographed copy. But make sure, support the project, okay? Thank you again, Miss Shamika, and you have a great night. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now open. Healing is a journey, 6-week guided experience. If you've been feeling tired, emotionally heavy, or ready for deeper healing, this is your invitation. I'm opening enrollment for Healing is a Journey, a 6-week guided, faith-centered healing experience created to help women begin, continue, and stay whole. Starts Sunday, March 1st. Time 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Virtual registration closes before the first session. This is a safe space to slow down, reflect honestly, release what you've been carrying, renew your mind and heart, and allow God to restore you. You don't have to heal alone. Register now. Limited spots available. Go to my website www. Author Stephanie M. Seaton. Come, healing is a journey.